So we have economics paper one, paper two, sorry, May 2020. Good question one. They said it is estimated that the marginal propensity to consume in China is 0.5. Assume that the Chinese government increased its spending on infrastructure by 1.5 billion. Ceteris paribus. What would be final increase in GDP following this injection? So multiply is 1 over 1 minus MPC. Multiply is 1 over 1 minus MPC. See if I can get that down here. Multiply is 1 over 1 minus MPC. Okay, it's going to move to this way. Okay. 1 over 1 over 1 minus MPC. That is multiplier, right? So here we have 1 over 1 minus 0.5,
It gives 2.
which gives us 2, right?
Yep.
Then multiply by 1.5, and that's 3.
Yep.
So the multiplier here is 3 billion yens, right?
Yep.
So it's right. Multiply is, so for multiply, it is 1 over 1 minus MPC. And if that is done, you get your MPC. And as soon as you get your MPC, what you do next is to multiply it with the figure, which is 1.5. That's done. Multiplier, 1 over 1 minus MPC, and that's it. Question 2. So for question 2, they said, okay, they said,
Oh, for version 2, it just shows the answer randomly because I
okay.
forgot what consumer price index
Okay,
is
for
about.
question 2, it's about consumer price index. For consumer price index, it's the formula for consumer price index is cost of basket in the current year divided by the cost of basket in the base year multiplied by 100. That's consumer price index. So here we have a question here, which is, so here they said January 2015 is 200, the CPI is 200. In January 2016 is 206. So that means I need to do something here. Let me pause this. Pause. Please let me take this video. Take this one. It's paused, but just take it for me. I want to make something down here. Erase. Let me just erase this. Okay. So for question 2, for consumer price index, CPI, let's say CPI equals to the current year, which is 206, over the base year, which is 200 multiplied by 100. So that gives us, I have the calculation here. That gives us, okay, let's take this off. So we have 206 divided by 200 multiplied by 100. That gives us 103. And for each year, it is 100%. So 103 minus 100, that's 3%. So when talked about consumer price index, it simply means that the purchasing power of individuals fell. So based on my calculation, yeah, let me have it. So for consumer price index, based on what we calculated now, it is 206 divided by 200 multiplied by 100. It gives us 103. And if we have 103 here, it simply means that
There's
the
an
value
increase
of
of
money,
3%.
yeah, there's inflation rate of 3%. And whenever there's inflation, it reduces the value of money. You get the point here? So based on the options we have here, the option says the purchasing power is okay now.
No. So more back.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. The purchasing power of money fell by 3%. The rate of inflation was 6%. The standard of living must have fallen by 3%. The price of export increased by 6%. But based on this situation, we have 103. We have increase of 3% in inflation. And if the inflation rate has increased by 3%, it simply means that the purchasing power of money has fallen by 3%. So the answer for question 2 is A. So that's about consumer price index. Thank you. So question 1 and 2 on this. So I'm just going to show the others here. So based on this calculation that we did, so the purchasing power fell, but we have so this gives us 1.03. So 1.03 multiplied by 100, that's 103. So 103 minus 100, that's 3%. So the inflation rate is 3%, which simply means the purchasing power of money fell by 3%. So the answer for question 2 is A. And for question 1, for question 1, it's D. For question 1, it's D. Question 1 is D. Question 2 is A. Is it A? Yeah? A. Question 2 is A. So we'll move on. Let me see, erase this. Let me see if I can. Move on. So that's done. So we'll go to question 3 now, right? Camera. So question 1 is done. Thank you. We'll go to question 3. So the calculation is here. You can check it later on. Okay. So we have question 3. Okay. For question 3, they say, which one of the following is an injection into the circular flow of income? And when we talk about injection, it means money is coming into the economy. So savings is a sort of withdrawal. Saving is withdrawal. Export is injection because goods are sold to foreign customers and money comes into the economy. So that's injection. Import is withdrawal because money is going out of the economy. And taxation means people would spend less. And that is also a sort of withdrawals. So export is the only injection we have here for question 3, which is A. So for question 3, it is A. Question 3. So question 3 is A, injection. Question 3A, injection. So go to question 4. They said in the USA, the number of part-time workers who would prefer full-time employment was 4.3 million in 2019. This is an example of which of the following? Frictional unemployment. When we talk about frictional unemployment, it's underemployment, yes. What is frictional unemployment?
Frictional employment is a type of unemployment when you are in between jobs.
Frictional unemployment simply means
It's the period between both
leaving a job and seeking for another job. So it's called frictional unemployment or temporary unemployment. So for frictional unemployment, it happens when an individual leaves a job to seek for another job within that period of time. That does not mean that it's not about underemployment. Protectionism occurs.
Increase in voluntary unemployment.
Protectionism.
Yeah.
Protectionism. What is protectionism?
It's when the government protects job.
No, protectionism it's about it's about international trade.
Okay.
So for protectionism, it simply means government is trying to protect infant industry. That is protectionism. It doesn't have anything to do with employment.
Yeah.
And unemployment is a situation whereby there's mismatch of job or people have ability to work more than the present work hours they have. So for question 4, it is C. And resource utilization. Resource utilization simply means employed resources. And that should bring about employment, not underemployment. So for question 4, it is C. Done. So go to question 5. Are you there? So for question 5, why is the economic
mine is wrong.
Right, wrong. So for question 5, let me go back to the question. They said the ILO unemployment rate in Spain fell from 21% in 2014 to less than 15% in 2018. Which one of the following is most likely to be associated with this change in Spain's unemployment rate? A fall in negative output, that is the answer anyway. A fall in negative output simply means a positive output gap. If a fall in negative output means a positive output gap. And if there's a positive output gap, it means employment is increasing. So Here they said unemployment fell from 21% to 15%. That's a fall in unemployment by 6%. So a fall in unemployment by 6% means an increase in employment by 6%. So the answer for question 5 is A. If a rise in the level of welfare payment, if there's a rise in level of welfare payment,
increase in unemployment.
if welfare payment increases, it means there will be increase in voluntary unemployment. So it's not B. A fall in demand for exports. Demand for exports will lead to demand for labor, as labor is a derived demand. So a fall in demand for export will bring about a fall in employment, because the demand for labor is a derived demand. So a fall in demand for export will create unemployment. So it will not bring about employment. So it is not C. A rise in economic inactivity. A rise in economic inactivity is the same as deflation. Economic inactivity.
I read it as activity.
No. Yeah, they know some people would quickly scheme and make an answer. So a rise in economic inactivity will bring about recession or deflation.
Yeah.
And both of them will bring about unemployment, not
because it
not employment.
disincentivizes people from
Yeah.
working.
So for question 5, it is
It's A.
A. For question 5, it's A. So you can keep this. For question 5, it's A. So we'll go to question 6. Okay. We have a chart here. They said question 6. We have a chart. See, they said
You can't.
okay.
You can't.
I can't. Yeah, I'll have to.
No,
I can't. So for question 6, let me pause this first. Paused. You can hold on to that, please. Thank you. So for question 6, they said the chart shows the value of the Canadian dollar in terms of the US dollar exchange rate between January 2018 to December 2018. So what can be deduced from this chart? What we can understand about this chart is that the Canadian dollar depreciates against the US dollar. So let's look at the options. They said, what can be deduced? The Canadian export will be less competitive in the USA. Canadian import from the USA will be more competitive. Between the start of February and the end of June, the Canadian dollar increased in value against the US dollar. No, it's not right anyway. Between the start of October and the end of December, the Canadian dollar decreased in value against the US dollar. So based on what we have here, the chart shows that the Canadian dollar fell against the US dollar. That's depreciated. So the analysis now. So if the Canadian dollar, stop the talk. Okay.
It's broomstick.
Yeah, it's okay. Let me just leave this one for now. I'll come back to that later. So if the Canadian dollar, now the options we have here, they said the Canadian export will be less competitive in the USA. No, the Canadian dollar would not be less competitive. It would rather be more competitive, because the value of the dollar, the Canadian dollar, has fallen against the dollars, the American dollar. So which makes export to become cheaper for the Americans wanting to import from Canada. So that means it will make Canadian export to be more internationally competitive. It is not A. B, Canadian import from the USA will be more competitive. No, it will not be more competitive, because importation becomes expensive from America. So it's not B. C, between the start of February and the end of June, the Canadian dollar increased in value against the US dollar. No, the Canadian dollar depreciated against the US dollar. So it's not C. So the only option that is correct here is D. Between the start of October and the end of December, the Canadian dollar decreased in value against the US dollar. So from the start of October to the end of December, it decreases. From the start of October to the end of December, it decreases. So the Canadian dollar decreases against the US dollar. So question 6, it's D. For question 6 is D. So move on to question 7. Move on to question 7. Yeah. So for question 7, okay. For question 7, okay, well. They said, okay. So for question 7, they said, in 2017, the real GDP per capita rose by 5.3% in Laos. Explain one possible effect of this increase in real incomes and subjective happiness. So what is real GDP per capita? Is the GDP adjusted for inflation divided by the population? Okay, Laos GDP rose by 5.3%, meaning that the output per person rose. This should imply an increase in salaries or wages, increasing disposable income. This allows consumers to increase their purchasing power, hence contributing to greater subjective happiness score. Thank you. Well, I would have appreciated if you write what subjective happiness is, because you are the only one who knows what subjective happiness is. People out there want to know what subjective happiness is. So this is the way I answered my own question. First, subjective happiness implies to the value people place on well-being. That is subjective happiness. So it is subjective happiness because it is the value individuals place on their well-being. And the well-being is measured based on the ability to buy goods and services. So that is subjective happiness. Then we have real income. Real income is the income that is adjusted for inflation. So those are two definitions that are important here. Subjective happiness, which is simply the value people place on their well-being. And for real income, it's income that has been adjusted for inflation. Those are the two things. Now, higher income here, based on, they said the GDP per capita rose by 5.3%, which simply means high income. So high income will lead to individuals being able to afford goods and services. And the ability to afford goods and services will in turn improve their well-being. And because their well-being is improved, it will bring about increase in their subjective happiness. And based on the case study, it said according to the extract, the GDP per capita has increased by 5.3% in Laos. So that's about subjective happiness and real income. Subjective happiness again is what? The value people placed on their well-being.
The well-being, yeah.
The well-being is determined by their ability to be able to afford goods and services. I think that is clear. So that's about subjective happiness. This is done. Question 7. Now go to question 8. Are you there?
Yeah. In my mind, I'm there.
What?
In my mind, I'm there.
Oh, you are there in your mind. Yeah. Okay. So we have question 8. For question 8, it's about a chart for rate of inflation, a chart for rate of inflation, a chart for rate of inflation. So based on this chart, they said, with reference to the chart, explain the difference between deflation and disinflation. So he said deflation is defined as a continuous general fall in price across an economy for 2 or more consecutive quarters. 2 or more consecutive quarters. I don't think I said that to you before. That's 2 consecutive quarters. You use that for recession.
Oh,
That's recession. 2 or more consecutive quarters talked about recession.
okay.
Inflation is determined within a year. So it's just about a year. So that's why we have the current basket value, the current basket price and the base year. So it's always within a year. So based on what we have here, first, deflation. Deflation is the persistent fall in the general price level of goods and services within an economy during a year. Then there's disinflation, which is what? A fall in the rate of inflation within an economy, or the average level, or an increase in the average level of price at a slow rate. Disinflation. You know, we were talking about disinflation the other time too. So here, I'm giving you 2 definitions here. A fall in the rate of inflation within an economy, that's disinflation. It can also mean that the average price level increases, but at a slow rate.
Yeah, so it's increasing, but
at a slow rate, the price now,
yeah.
not the rate of inflation.
Yeah.
So the average price is increasing. It's not what we used to buy, but at a lower rate. That is what disinflation is. So deflation occurred here between January 2018 and March 2018, because deflation also means a negative inflation rate. So based on the case study, based on what we have here, I paused it. Based on what we have here, please let me take that. It's paused already. So based on what we have here, there's deflation between January 2018. A negative inflation rate means deflation. So there's deflation between January 2018 and January, February, March, and March 2018. This deflation. Then there's disinflation between October 2018 to December 2018. A fall in the rate of inflation is disinflation. A negative inflation rate is disinflation or deflation. So that's about that. So let me have it, please. I want to show it. I need to start faster.
Yeah.
So is it showing? Yeah.
No,
So,
tilt it a bit.
okay, is it clear now?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's deflation between January 2018 to April 2018. A negative inflation rate is deflation. Then we have um, if a fall in the rate of inflation. So from 1.8 to 1 to 0.6, this is disinflation. Disinflation and deflation. So that's the difference between inflation and disinflation. We'll move on to question. So here, it's 4 marks, but I'm going to give you three. Yeah, three. You're telling me the mark now. Okay. So that's about question 8. Have it. So go to question 9. For question 9, they said in November 2018, Serbia's money supply increased by 84 point. I need that, please. So for question 9, they said in November 2018, Serbia's money supply increased by 8.4% year on year. This was a result of an increase in availability of credit. Explain one possible impact of this increase in the availability of credit on the level of investment on the economy of Serbia. So availability of credit is the availability of loans or the abundance of money consumers and firms can spend that they do not own. Thank you. So an increase in the availability of credit in Serbia can result in an increase in investment by firms on capital or capital goods.
Goods.
As interest rates tend to be low, therefore incentivizing firms to borrow money and resulting in a rise in the economic activity overall as AD rise. Okay. So, well, from my own way, first I defined what investment is. Investment simply means an increase in capital goods or capital stocks. Access to credit implies to the willingness of financial institutions like the bank to make lending available. So according to the extract, money supply in Serbia increased by 8.4% year on year. This implies that businesses will be able to borrow from banks, which in turn increase the investment in the economy. This also boosts their confidence and increase output in Serbia, leading to economic growth. And aggregate demand is increasing. So that's economic growth too. So that's question 9. So we have question 10. Graph without analysis. Well done. So for question 10, okay, I think I stopped this here. Okay. This for me first. So for question 10, they said in 2018, oil prices fell by 4.8% because of excess supply in the global market. Germany is a net importer of oil. Draw an AD and SRS diagram to show the possible impacts of the fall in oil prices on the price level and real output on the German economy. So there's excess supply. So if there's excess supply, the graph is right anyway. The graph is right, but there's no analysis. So I'm going to draw my graph now with analysis. So we have graph analysis here, draw. Okay. So we have, we're told to draw an AD and SRS diagram to show an excess supply in the economy. So we're going to draw, we have our Y1, Y2, we have P1, then we have P2. So we have the SRAS1, SRAS2, then we have the AD curve here. So there's excess demand, excess supply will bring about a fall in price from P1 to P2, and real output will increase from Y1 to Y2, as the short-term aggregate supply curve will increase, or move downward from SRS1 to SRS2. So this is what it's meant by drawing a graph that represents aggregate demand and short-term aggregate supply curve. So based on that graph, yeah, okay, don't worry about it. So based on the graph, excess supply will bring about a fall in the price level from P1 to P2. Can I use the, I need to flip it. Okay, it's flipped already, okay.
Change it to video.
Yeah. So the question says we should, in 2018, the price fell by 4.8% because of excess supply. Take care. So in the global market, Germany is a net importer of oil. So draw an AD and SRAS diagram to show a possible impact of the fall in oil prices on the price level and real output of on the German economy. So this is the aggregate supply, this is the short run and aggregate demand curve. So based on the situation, there's excess supply. Excess supply will bring about an increase in the short-run aggregate supply curve, a rightward shift or downward shift in the short-run aggregate supply curve from SRS1 to SRS2. And that will bring about expansion in the AD curve because the real output has increased from Y1 to Y2 as the price level has fallen from P1 to P2. So we're going to have a new equilibrium, which is going to be at P2. So that's about a fall in price. Okay, I have that. So here I'm giving you 3 because you don't give me any analysis. So we have question 11. How about so for question 11, let's see. For question 11. So move to question 11. So we have for question 11, let's say the table shows the nominal GDP and the population of India for India in 2012 to 2017. Year 2012 and year 2017. So what we're told to do here is that it said, using the information above, calculate the change in GDP per capita between 2012 and 2017 in US, show your workings. So to do this, first we have to, what is the formula for GDP per capita? GDP divided by population. Thank you. So here we have, so we have GDP per capita, GDP per capita, which is GDP divided by population. This is the formula for GDP per capita. So the GDP per capita for 2012 is already done. So we need for 2017. So for 2017, it's going to be GDP, which is 2597.5 over 1.2836. So GDP per capita, okay, so we're gonna have, we need the calculator here. We need the calculator, okay. So the calculator is there already. So we have 2597.5 divided by 1.2836. That gives us 2023.6. 2023.6. That's GDP per capita. So we have 20. So we have, this is 20, the calculator, 2023.6. 2023.6. So that's the GDP per capita for 2017. Now we are told to calculate the change in GDP per capita. So to calculate the change in GDP per capita, we need to, it's going to be 2023.6 over minus 1 8 minus 1 5 about minus 1506.2 over 1506.2 multiplied by 100. That's how to calculate GDP per capita, change in GDP per capita. So we need the calculator now. So we have, cancel this. So we have, we take the calculator somewhere else. Let's see. Okay, it's better here. So we have 2023.6 minus 1506.2, 506.2. That's 517.4 divided by 1506.2. So multiply by 100. So it is 34.35%. So the change in GDP is 34.35%. 34. You got it wrong. Hey, yeah. It's 34.35%. 34.35%. So the formula is GDP per capita, which is GDP divided by population. Then we have the GDP for this year. We have this. We're looking for this year, 2017. For 2017, it is 2023.6. Then 2023.6 minus 1506.2 divided by 1506.2 multiplied by 100. So it's going to give you this, 34.35%, not 39.2%. Right?
I wonder what I did wrong though the first time.
So that's how to calculate GDP per capita. Yeah, your formula is right here. No, this is even wrong, right?
What?
2017. How do you get 2097?
I don't know.
Oh, so it's wrong. So that's wrong. So on that note, we stop to this lesson. The next class is going to do question 12 and 13. So that ends the live session. Hold on, please.